Hey guys, welcome back to Math Principles. Last couple times we got together, we were talking about solving equations. And each time our equations were getting a little bit more complex and we were adding another step along the way. Well, today we're going to add the final step for solving these linear equations. The big difference between these and the ones we looked at the last times are now there's variables on both sides of the equation. So we need to deal with that. We're still going to do all the other stuff that we've been doing, but we need to add another step right about the middle of our process. Okay, we're going to start out by drawing the vertical line down the middle. Then we'll simplify each side of the equation. But then we need to get all of our variables together on one side of the equation. Now, it doesn't matter if you move everything to the left or if you move everything to the right. We just need to make sure that everything's on the same side. So that's step number 3. Vertical line, simplify each side. We're going to call that collecting your variables. Okay. Now again, it doesn't matter if you move them all to the left or you move them all to the right. All that matters is that they're all on one side together. And we're going to do that with those inverse operations, moving variables from one side to the other. And then we'll just, once we have them all together, we'll work backwards to get them by themselves. Okay, and check your solution. Watch out for those negatives the whole time. So let's get right to it. On this example, we have 3 plus 4 times the quantity x plus 2 equals 2x plus 3 times the quantity x plus 4. So this one's a little bit messy. That's okay. We're going to take our time and work through it. Vertical line. Next up, I want to simplify each side. So I'm going to focus on the left side first, and then I'll come over here and simplify the right. So on the left side, I want to distribute that 4. So I'll do 4 times x and 4 times 2. Well, 4 times x is 4x. Bring down that plus sign. 4 times 2 is 8. Then on the left, or excuse me, I'll bring down that 3 plus because I haven't done anything with it just yet. Next up, like terms I have to combine. I've got 3 and 8. So when I put those two together, 3 plus 8 is going to give me 11. So I have 4x plus 11. Now that's about as simplified as this left side can be. So now I'm going to come back up here and simplify the right side. I'll start out the same way. Distribute that 3. So 3 times x is 3x. Bring down that plus sign. 3 times 4 is 12. We didn't touch that 2x, so it's just going to come right on down. Well, now I have a pair of like terms, 3x and 2x. And if I put those together, that's 5x. So we have 5x plus 12 equals 4x plus 11. Okay? Now, at this point, we've simplified each side. Last time, we'd start to get that x by itself. But I've got x's on both sides, and I need to get them all on one side. Now, there's no wrong answer. You can go to the left or you can go to the right. It really makes no difference. In this instance, I'm going to move everything over to the right side. So this positive 4x, in order to move that positive 4x over to the right, I need to subtract 4x from each side of the equation, both sides of that vertical line. 4x minus 4x is 0. So all I have is 0 plus 11, or even more simply, just 11. Then on the right side, 5x minus 4x is 1x, or even more simply, just x. Bring down that plus 12. And now we're almost done. Once we've got all our x's on the same side, now we'll use inverse operations and reverse order of operations to get that variable by itself. So they're adding 12, we'll subtract 12 from both sides of the equation. 12 minus 12 is 0, so I have x plus 0, or just x. 11 minus 12 is negative 1. Take that negative 1, sub it back into the original, and make sure that it works. Now, guys, this might take a little bit of thinking. So maybe it's a good idea to write it down. 3 plus 4 times the quantity negative 1 plus 2. And I want to see if that equals 2 times negative 1 plus 3 times the quantity negative 1 plus 4. Now, if you want to type this all into a calculator, you can. If you want to do the scratch work, you want to do it in your head. One way or another, you should check your answer, though. Negative 1 plus 2 is going to be 1. 4 times 1 is 4. 3 plus 4 is 7. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 1 plus 4 is going to be 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Negative 2 plus 9 equals 7. X equals negative 1 is a good answer. Okay? Next up, I've got 5y minus 3 times the quantity 1 plus y equals 5 minus 2y. Now, this one, guys, same thing. Start out exact same way, vertical line through the equal sign. Next up, I want to simplify each side. Well, guys, that right side, 5 minus 2y, doesn't get a whole lot simpler than that. So I'm just going to leave that alone. The left side is where I need to do some work. So I need to distribute that 3. But there's a catch. That 3 is actually negative. This minus sign in front of the 3 is attached to that 3. So anywhere that 3 goes, that minus sign has to go with it. So for me, when I'm distributing a negative, I like to circle that negative answer. That helps me make sure that I don't lose it. So if I do negative 3 times 1, that's negative 3. Bring down that plus sign. Negative 3 times y is negative 3y. I haven't touched that 5y, so I'll bring it right on down. And I haven't touched this right side, so I might as well bring that down as well. Now, over here on the left, I have some like terms to combine. I have 5y and minus 3y. 5y and negative 3y, if I put those two together, that's going to be 2y. Bring down the minus 3, still equals 5 minus 2y. Okay, now, I've simplified each side as much as I can. Now it's time to get all of my variables together in one place. So this time, guys, I'm going to choose to move them all over to the left. So this is a negative 2y. In order to move that to the other side, I have to do the opposite. I have to add 2y to both sides. Minus 2y plus 2y cancels. That's 0. So I have 5 minus 0, or simply 5. On the left side, 2y plus 2y is 4y. So I have 4y minus 3 equals 5. Next, use reverse order of operations, inverse operations to get that y by itself. They're multiplying by 4, subtracting 3, so we'll work backwards and do the opposite. We'll add 3 to both sides. Negative 3 plus 3 is 0. So I have simply 4y minus 0, or just 4y. Over on the right, 5 plus 3 is 8. They're still multiplying by 4, so we'll divide both sides by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so I have 1 times y, or simply y. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So I have y equals 2. Now I'd like to check that solution and make sure that it works. So put 2 in place of y. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 9 is 1. Over here, 2 times 2 is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. 1 equals 1. Our solution checks out, and we can say that y equals 2. Okay, now, this is how we would solve a standard equation. Simplify each side, collect all your variables on one side, reverse order of operations, inverse operations to get that variable by itself. Now, let's take a look at a couple more. Okay, these ones get a little bit tricky, but not too bad. Don't let that fraction make you panic. It's just a number. We're going to do the same thing we always do. Vertical line down the middle, distribute 1/4. Now, guys, if you need to do a little bit of scratch work to see what you're going to do, that's fine. Okay, we have 1/4 times 20 minus 1/4 times 4a. And that right side's about as simplified as it can get. So I'll just bring down the 6 minus a. Now, over here on the left, I need to do 1/4 times 20. You could use a calculator if you wanted to, or put that 20 over 1, multiply straight across. You'll have 1 times 20, which is 20. over 4 times 1, which is 4. 1/4 times 4a over 1. 1 times 4a is 4a, over 4 times 1 is 4. And still just bring down that 6 minus a. 20 over 4 is 5, minus 4a over 4 is just a. Still equal to 6 minus a. Well, now we've got each side about as simplified as we possibly can. Okay, so next up, we want to get all of our a's on one side. So really doesn't matter. I'm going to choose to move all of my a's over to the left. So if I have a minus a, I want to add a to both sides of the equation. Okay, negative or opposite of a plus a cancels. That's 0. So I have 6 minus 0, or simply 6. Over here, the opposite of a plus a is 0. So I have 5 minus 0, or simply 5. So I have 5 equals 6. 5 definitely doesn't equal 6. This is an indication that maybe we made a mistake. There's a fraction here, so I'll take a look at that. Well, we multiplied everything by that 1/4, and we reduced that. No, we didn't make any mistakes here at all. We have the opposite of a plus a, opposite of a plus a, everything cancels. Guys, if you end up with something like this, all of the variables cancel, and you're left with a false equation. Go back and check, make sure there's no mistakes. But if there is no mistakes, that doesn't mean that this is wrong. This is what's called no solution. Okay? And the way that we express that an equation has no solution is with the Greek letter phi. It's a circle with a slash through it. And that means that there's no answer to this equation. And you might think, oh my goodness, I've done all this work and I didn't get an answer. Well, guys, finding that the equation has no answer is just as good as finding that the equation is y equals 2. This means that this equation can't be solved, which is a valuable piece of information. Okay? Now, there's nothing left to check. There's nothing to sub in. So we're good to move on to the next one. Okay? Now, one thing before we do, I'd like to point out right here, when we multiply by 1/4, okay, and we put the 20 over 1, we multiplied straight across, and we reduced. Multiplying by 1/4 is ultimately the same thing as dividing by 4. So we can use that next time if we want to. 1/4 times 20, we can jump right down here to 5. 4a times 1/4, we can jump right down here to a. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're working through these equations. Next up, last one. I've got 3 times the quantity j plus 5 minus 6 equals 3 times the quantity j plus 3. Well, vertical line down through the equal sign and get to work. We want to start by simplifying each side. So on the left side, that means that I'm going to distribute this 3. So 3 times j is 3j. Bring down the plus sign. 3 times 5 is 15. And we didn't touch that minus 6, so just bring it right on down. Then we have some like terms we'd like to combine. 15 minus 6. Well, 15 minus 6 is going to be 9. So we have 3j plus 9. And that expression can't really get any more simplified. So we'll leave it at that. Then we'll simplify the right side. Well, on the right side, I can distribute that 3. 3 times j is 3j. Bring down the plus sign. 3 times 3 is 9. And there's really nothing I can do with that, so I'll just bring that down to the next line. And I have 3j plus 9. Well, we drew a vertical line. We simplified each side. Now it's time to move all of our variables to one side. It doesn't matter which side we go to. This time I'm going to choose to move all of my variables to the right. So I've got a positive 3j. I need to subtract 3j from both sides. 3j minus 3j is 0. So I have 0 plus 9, or simply 9. 3j minus 3j is also 0. So I have 0 plus 9, or just 9. Well, this is a whole lot like the last one. All of the variables canceled. So we'll go back and we'll check, but we're not going to find any mistakes in our work. Okay? But this time, I don't have a false equation. Okay, 9 equals 9 is 100% true. So I wouldn't say that this equation has no solution. I would say that this equation is an identity. Okay, the equation is an identity, which means your solution is all real numbers. Okay, any number you can possibly imagine, sub it in place of that j, and it's going to work. Any number you can think of is going to make that equation true. That's called the identity. So one of two things happens if all the variables cancel. All the variables cancel, and your equation is false. If that happens, you're talking about an equation with no solution. In this case, all of the variables canceled, and we were left with an equation that was true. When all the variables cancel, and your equation is true, you're talking about an identity. You're talking about all real numbers being your solution. Okay? So, same thing we've been doing. Vertical line through the equal sign, simplify each side. The only new addition is right here. We need to make sure we get all of our variables onto one side of the equation. Once they're all together, we isolate them. Reverse order of operations, inverse operations, check your solution. When you're working through, make sure you're watching out for those negatives. Okay, guys, the assignment's posted in Canvas. Any questions you have, this video is posted in Canvas. Any questions that you have, please make sure you contact me one way or another, get those questions answered. Okay, I look forward to hearing from you.